Hello my friends, Stephanie here, and I'm back with more movie chatter. And what I had planned for you guys today was a Blu-ray haul video. I was going to show you what I picked up over the last month and a half, a summer haul video. But I am pushing that video. I'm going to put that up Friday night or Saturday, so you'll have that for the weekend. I'm pushing that video because Monday I got a package on my porch from Warner Brothers. So I want to thank Warner Brothers for sending these out to me. They sent me their 4 new releases, that they're 4K releases, so that I could review them and share my thoughts with you guys. So that's what we're going to do today. And the good thing about these is that they're all classics. They're all movies that we all have seen before. Some are from the 80s, some are from the early 2000s. So you already know, I would hope by this point, if you like them or not. Also, I'm going to focus on picture quality and sound so that I can just let you know from an average consumer what my viewing experience was with these. I'm not going to get into a lot of technical jargon because that's not my forte. I am just a person who, I put the movie in, I want to know, does it look good, does it sound good, is it worth a pickup? So that's the way I'm going to approach this. And I think that it's important that I tell you what I watched it on. I watched the movies on my upstairs setup, not the one that I showed in my room tour. Upstairs, I have an LG OLED TV, a C9 series. I've had it for about 7 months. It's a great TV. And I have a dedicated 4K player. I have a Panasonic UV820. And the nice thing about that is it has an HDR toggle. You can set it between 4 settings. I think it's natural, standard, lighter, and brightest. And I always keep mine set to standard. I did not change anything on the TV or the Blu-ray player. I just put it in as I would watch any other movie. I had the lights on. Also, I have a 5.1 surround sound up there. No Atmos up there, so I didn't use anything but my regular setup. The only thing I did do is one movie has an Atmos track. I brought it downstairs afterwards to listen to the Atmos track, and we'll talk about that. So, that being said, the first movie that I watched was 1985, Steven Spielberg's classic, The Goonies. And I mean, come on, who doesn't love The Goonies? It's the ultimate kid movie where you have a bunch of friends who are hanging around one day and they find this treasure map and they decide to go and follow this map to try and find the missing treasure that is supposedly buried in these tunnels underneath their town. And I've always loved this movie, and I mean, who doesn't? And we have, it's funny because these types of things definitely hold up, which is proven by series such as Stranger Things and the movie Summer of '84 that we have coming out now. There are definitely nods back to these type of, this Stand By Me movies that came out around that time. People love this stuff. They love the 80s. They love the idea of a group of kids going out on an adventure, and that's exactly what you get with this one. Now, as far as the 4K, I thought it looked great. The outside shots are beautiful. They're crisp. They're sharp. The colors pop. Everything looks great there. But a lot of this movie, I'd say about half of the movie is underground, and it's very dark. It's underground in the caves because they're following this map, looking for these buried treasures. And personally, I thought it looked really good. It's always going to be dark because it's a dark movie, but I thought it was much brighter than what I expected. I thought there was a lot of good detail, like they have rocks behind them. As they're walking through the cave, there's rocks behind them. The rocks, definitely you could see that separation between the people and the rocks, and you could see detail and color in the rocks. There's overhead pipes that you could see, and you could see, I could see every little nut and bolt in there, all the paint, all the little, chips that are in the pipes and everything like that. I could see all the details. Everything looked great. Everything looked sharp. The sound quality was good. I was very happy with the 4K. So what I did is afterwards I popped in the Blu-ray, picked out certain scenes that I had really scrutinized during the 4K, and that's when I really saw the difference, and I really appreciated the 4K, because not that the Blu-ray looked bad by any means. It was just that if you took an outside shot, there was one where Chunk is wearing a raincoat, and definitely the yellow on the raincoat was much softer on the Blu-ray and a little more muted on the Blu-ray. The background stuff, grass, hills, clouds, things in the background were definitely softer, not as sharp, not as bright. And then when I went down into the darker spots in the caves, there was definitely a noticeable difference in the clarity of the rocks. They didn't stand out as much. The color didn't really pop. There wasn't a big separation between the people and the rocks behind them. There wasn't so much detail. Same thing with the pipes. They were really dark. You couldn't tell the color. You couldn't see the nuts and bolts. You couldn't see the details on the pipes. Everything was a little muddy and a little muddled, and there were a lot of dark shadows. There were a lot of times when I looked at the Blu-ray and it just felt really, really dark. And you know, that's what it was. It was a dark part of the movie, but it was really, I think, was really helped by the 4K, you know, the cleanup on the 4K, because it was definitely a much brighter experience, a lot less shadows, things like that. And like when you see the underwater, the water scenes and stuff, they're just beautiful on the 4K. Everything looked really good, and I personally was very happy with the 4K upgrade, and I think it's definitely a worthwhile jump if you have 4K capability to check out the Goonies on 4K. So I would definitely give this one a go. I know there's been some mixed reviews, but I really think it depends on what you're looking for, and maybe you know, your viewing habits, how you watch your movies. But as far as what I did, I watched it the way I watch every other movie, and it looked great. So Goonies gets a 2 thumbs up from me. Oh, and I want to talk about the packaging. This is a really nice slipcover. It's got nice embossing on the slipcover. Show you that. And then on the back, you have your special features and whatnot. And a lot of the special features on these were ported over from the existing Blu-rays. That's what it said in the material that Warner Brothers sent over to me. And on the inside, you have the same artwork on the cover. And the inside, they're just plain discs, just a gray one and a black one. So you're not looking at a lot of disc art. So that's the Goonies. I definitely say I give that one a go. Now this next one, this is a blast. Who doesn't love Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice? And this has a nice glossy slip, and it's very colorful, as you can see. And then on the back we have him and Winona Ryder doing their thing on the staircase. And I mean, come on, who doesn't love Beetlejuice? For some reason, I thought this was a 90s movie, and it's from 1988. This looked amazing. Now this one, out of all 4, this is the one, this has Dolby Atmos. So this is the one that I brought downstairs, and I listened to the Atmos track, which was amazing. It was so good. These surround speakers were cranking. The height speakers were great. There was a spot with a fly in there, and you could feel like the fly was buzzing all around the room. It was great. But as far as the picture quality, this is a very, very colorful movie, as you can tell just from the cover. And it's a Tim Burton movie, and they tend to be a little bit dark, so you have that mix of bright, bright colors and then that dark theme that he definitely works into all his movies. But I thought this was great. It looked great. Everything was so, so sharp, and the colors were so, they just popped. There was an overhead shot of the house, and you have flower beds in the front, and the aerial shot, the flowers were just so sharp and so bright. You could see like every flower that was there. It was amazing. So I thought everything looked good on this one, and you have a lot of special effects obviously in this one. But there was only one time that I thought it looked a little strange, and it was when after they died, when they go outside the house, and that was a really CGI heavy part of the movie. The few times that they go outside the house, that was the only time that it maybe looked a little bit wonky to me. Like you could definitely tell that there was a separation between like Gina Davis and the CGI situation. It just looked a little weird to me, but that's nitpicky because it doesn't happen that often, and it wasn't horrible. It was just noticeable. Where the rest of the movie, I thought it looked amazing. The colors, just for the colors alone, this just pops. Everything looked good. The details were sharp. The sound was great, and like I said, the Atmos is rocking. When I brought it downstairs and I put it on and I listened to the Atmos track, it is so, so good. So clear and so good. Makes use of every speaker you have. And even upstairs on the 5.1, it sounded great and it looked awesome. As far as the comparison between the Blu-ray, very similar experience to what I saw with the Goonies. When I put the Blu-ray in, not to say that the Blu-ray looks bad at all, but there's definitely a difference. This is a huge upgrade, in my opinion. The Blu-ray, the colors didn't pop as much. When that same aerial shot that I talked about, the flowers kind of looked like a bunch. They weren't real sharp as far as where you could see the individual flowers. The colors were a little more muted. The points where I saw the CGI, it was of course less noticeable on the Blu-ray than the 4K, where I said it looked a little like there was this, you could tell that she was standing against a screen of some sort with the CGI heavy areas. but I thought it looked great overall, and I would definitely say this is a huge upgrade. So just for the 4K alone, plus you throw in the Dolby Atmos, it's a win right there. So I would say pick up Beetlejuice. There you go, there's the cover, and I showed you that before, so we're gonna go to the inside. Same cover art, and then it's pretty plain. You have a green disc and a black disc, and they just have the outline of the snake type character. It starts on this one, carries over to this one. And all these do come with digital codes. I took them out so that I could show you guys the discs inside. But yeah, I would say Beetlejuice is definitely a worthwhile upgrade. And like I said, out of the bunch, this is the one. This has the Dolby Atmos. So if you have Dolby Atmos setup, definitely it's going to give your system a workout. Now these next two, I consider them kind of like, if you're going to get one, get the other one, and they are the Sherlock Holmes movie with Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, Rachel McAdams, and Mark Strong. These are both directed by Guy Ritchie, so if you are a fan of Guy Ritchie, you're going to love these movies. It's a modern take on Sherlock Holmes. I read somewhere that they consider it Sherlock Holmes for this generation, and I have to agree. And I think Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law have such a great chemistry as Sherlock Holmes and Watson, and Robert Downey Jr. is just such a great actor. I could watch him in anything and I'd enjoy it. And I do happen to be a Guy Ritchie fan, so I do enjoy the somewhat chaotic pacing of these movies. The second one I think is a little more chaotic than the first one, but I've always enjoyed these. This one's from 2009, the second one's from 2011. Now with this one, the first one I put it in and I put the 4K in, and I thought it looked good. Everything was sharp, everything was bright. Darker scenes still look good because these outside scenes, Sherlock Holmes, from the beginning of any Sherlock Holmes movies, has always been notoriously a darker setting movie. It's always in a darker setting. So the outside scenes tend to be a little dark. There's a lot of action in these. There's a lot more action in Sherlock Holmes movies, especially the second one, than your typical, like from way back when, your old school Sherlock Holmes movies. And I think that's what makes these feel more up to date. But the action scenes were really good. What I noticed with the dark scenes is I noticed a lot of detail. Like if they're standing against a building, there's a lot of detail. A lot more than I would expect to see. The outside scenes are good. They're bright. They look great. The issue was when I put in the Blu-ray, on this one in particular, the first one, I couldn't really tell as much of a difference. Didn't seem to be as much of an uptick from the Blu-ray to the 4K. It wasn't as noticeable as, say, Beetlejuice or the Goonies. This one, I thought it was kind of almost a dead heat. Where I noticed a difference in this one was mostly when they were standing against buildings and you would see details or chips in the building or cracks or little things, little details like that. That's when I noticed the difference. So I would say this, if you're a fan of these movies, if you're a fan of Sherlock Holmes, I would say it's definitely worth a pickup because there is an uptick. It's just not as big of a jump as the other ones. So this would be one, if you can't splurge and go out and buy all four, maybe say with the Sherlock Holmes movies, maybe wait for a price drop on this one or a Black Friday special. You know, it's really got to be your call. If you're a diehard fan, you're going to put this in your collection right away. If you're on the fence, this maybe is one that you could wait for a price drop. Now, it's not as flashy of a slipcover. I've heard some people say they wish they used different art. That's the front, and that's the back. But, I mean, I think it looks fine. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. But the only thing you do risk when you wait for these price drops, like if you wait for Black Friday, is you risk that you might not get the slipcover. So, same art on the outside. And I think, yeah, these inside discs, they're plain. There's no disc art. But there's no Dolby Atmos on this. It's just the 4K UHD. And like I said, the Blu-ray, in my opinion, the Blu-ray and the 4K were pretty neck and neck on this one. I didn't see a huge uptick. There was definitely a difference, not huge. And now this last one, it's the Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. Same thing, Robert Downey Jr., Jude Law, directed by Guy Ritchie. This one, I actually like this one more than I like the first one. I just think it has a great villain. It has a really good action. It has a lot of action. And there's this one scene in particular where they're putting like a rocket into a cannon. I call it a rocket, but they're putting something into a cannon, and they show all the mechanisms of the inner workings of the cannon, and it is just so intricate. On the 4K, you see every little nook and cranny of the gears and the controls, and it's just amazing. And the explosions are so bright, and it's like in your face. It's so good. And again, the outside scenes looked better. There was less shadowing. There was more details. Inside scenes, there were some inside restaurant scenes, ballroom scenes. They were all bright, and everything just looked sharp and good. Everything looks good. Scenes where you see maybe like a beard or something. There's every little hair you can see on their face. It's really good 4K. I thought this one looked great, and when I put in the Blu-ray, I definitely noticed that there was an uptick to the 4K. This one had more of an uptick than the first one, but I thought it looked great. I love this movie. I've loved these movies since they came out, so these are two that I would definitely have added to my collection. I would have added all four of these to my collection, to be honest, but I definitely think this one is worth an upgrade. I think they're both worth an upgrade, but like I said, if you're going to buy one, you're going to buy the other one, so if you want to wait and buy them at the same time. If you're going to buy two right now, I would probably say go with Beetlejuice and the Goonies, and then maybe, you know, if budgeting is a thing, then wait and pick up the Sherlock Holmes one when they get a price drop or Black Friday. So this is your cover. Pretty much same as the first, a little more of a red theme. The other one had a blue theme. Then you have your back. And again, the special features are ported over from the previous Blu-rays. Same art on the outside. And then on the inside, we have a black disc and a red disc. So again, kind of going with the red theme. The other one was blue. So those are the new 4Ks that have been released by Warner Brothers, and like I said, all of them they're all great. They all look great. It's just a matter of, you know, where you're at with your budget and which ones you want to buy first. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you found it helpful. That was my goal here, to just kind of give you an average consumer's experience with watching these. And I had a great time with all of them. And again, I want to thank Warner Brothers for sending them over and giving me the opportunity to share them with you. And that's what I have for today. That's my thoughts on these. So I want to thank you guys for watching. And if you enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up, leave me some comments, hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. And like I said, I'm going to be back with a haul video the end of the week, so you'll have that for the weekend. And that's going to do it for me today. So I'll catch you in the next one. And for today, that's a wrap.